Hey, everybody. Today's guest has a story that many of us can relate to, or at least part of the story. In 2008, Keera D'Amato walked away from a career as a professional runner, due in part to injury, but also because of the pressure that came with that sport. She got married, she had two kids, became a full time realtor, and moved on with a busy life, juggling work and family. But after 8 years away from running, the sport slowly crept back into her life. At first, it was tough, but as she gained fitness, she gained confidence, and running no longer meant pressure, but rather an opportunity to see what she could do. From there, what Keira did was amazing. And in 2022, she went on to break the women's American record in the marathon and then later the half marathon. Keira is now a professional runner once again, and this time it's different. Today, she shares her story with us and how asking the simple question of what if can challenge our way of thinking. As a parent, as a hobby runner, or someone looking to test your limits, this one will resonate with you as we sit down with Keera D'Amato. Hey, a quick message, folks, before we get started. I've been listening to podcasts for years. I've listened to thousands of them, and many times I hear the hosts ask listeners to subscribe to the show or to provide a rating. Now, as a host myself, I know why. The subscription numbers and the ratings help the show to grow, exposing Pay Your Dues to more people and helping to bring in high-quality guests. If you like Pay Your Dues, I ask that you follow the show, perhaps provide a rating, and know that we appreciate your support. Now, let's get to it with our next guest. And we were just talking about this before we got on, but your kids were sick and you were sick. And I mean, that's part of parenthood, isn't it? I mean, it's like you got to balance that with work. Your work is running, but I mean, it can have a big effect on you.
It really can. Yeah. And just feeling off is just hard training through. So I think being a more mature runner now, I've just accepted that it's going to happen. Let it play its course. Don't try to force anything. And then we can build up. There's no playing catch up. There's no trying to cram it when you're feeling sick. That just goes the opposite direction. So, yeah.
So what does Boston Marathon mean to you? And I think you've run it before, but what's your history there, and what does that mean to you?
The Boston Marathon is so special to me. And actually, I would probably credit to the start of this whole comeback because it was in 2023 or 2013, excuse me, the year that the Boston bombings happened. That's what made me want to run a marathon. Up until that point, I'd never run one. And so I decided, well, I'm going to go train for a marathon and see if I can qualify for the Boston Marathon and try to run it in 2014. And this was I've had a really wild journey, but this was during my halftime show, round one and round two. So I wasn't running at all. So I was going from 0 miles a week trying to train for a marathon. And when the race day finally came, I was I think I picked a race 3 months out. I got owned
Really?
so hard in the marathon. I was like, this is not for me. I missed qualifying for Boston by close to 20 minutes. It was really, really a tough one, but I gained a lot of respect for the marathon that day.
Yeah. But it is special. It is special. I did run that 2014 Boston Marathon. That's the one that Meb won it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was a year after the bombing, it was all the Boston Strong. And it felt, and again, I'm a hobby runner, but it felt like you were running in the Olympics because people were so into it. There was so much patriotism, particularly with Boston and in that year. It was something special.
Yeah, it really was. And then, so I took probably 3 years to recover from that marathon and then decided, you know what, I do want to qualify for Boston. So then I got back at it. And then I started this whole don't call to come back. And with the intent of qualifying for Boston.
Yeah.
So it has really, really fueled me in so many ways. And I feel like I've seen so many different sides of the Boston Marathon that I've tried to qualify and failed. And then I went and ran in 2018, the year that was crazy weather.
Yeah. All the rain. Yeah.
Yes, but I was so proud to be lining up
Yeah.
for the Boston Marathon, and then I ran it again last year, like, as a pro, so I feel like I've seen so many
Yeah.
different sides of it, so it's a really special race to me.
And then what for you this year, and I know there's, some you map out your races, is like that your biggest event this year, or where does that rank for you for 2026?
Yeah, for 2026, I'll do 2 big marathons, Boston being one of them, and then depending on how it goes there, then I'll pick a fall marathon.
Mhm.
But yeah, those to me are like my Super Bowl is, yeah, the
Yeah.
Boston Marathon and whichever fall marathon I pick.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's always a big event. And so you talked about your book there briefly in your career. There's a lot of things I want to ask you, and I told you this before, but your book is very good. It's very funny. I mean, you've probably been told that before, but it is entertaining. I've read a lot of running books because I'm totally into it, but it's very funny. Have you heard that from people? I'm sure.
People have told me it's made them laugh, and I
Yeah,
have to say, when people say like, "Well, you're fast," like, that's a compliment, I
yeah,
appreciate that. But when people tell me I'm funny, like, that means the world to
yeah.
me.
That's
So
great.
thank you for leading with that, Greg. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, it's great because and I mean, this, your story resonates with people, and I said it in the intro so people understand, but you talk about round 1 and round 2, right? And I guess my question is what's different about you between round 1 and round 2 as a person and as a runner? They're such different parts of your life, I think.
Yeah, I think the short answer is everything.
Yeah.
But I think, like, to, like, double tap on that, I have lived life and experience, and I have a perspective that is so much different now. Like, a mother, Keira in her 30s, thinks way different than a college 20 something Keira.
Mhm.
And I think just living life, experiencing life, and learning patience and learning how much more running is than how fast. I think that that really unlocked so many doors for me just in running, that it matters to me and I work really hard, but it's not everything. And I think that that, like, mentality shift, I think, has really helped. And then also, like, Kira, when I got back into it, I wasn't afraid to fail. 'Cause I saw what was on the other side of running,
Mhm.
and that wasn't that scary anymore, and I saw what I've, like, experienced failure, and eventually, like, I quit running in round 1, and I recovered, and I was okay. So I think just seeing how failure is not to be feared, but is a stepping stone to learn, to grow, to improve, to, like, find different limits and figure out how you can work through them. And I think that that mentality shift was huge for me. But then also I think, like, I just started having the time of my life.
Mhm.
Like, being, like, a busy mom with a chaotic schedule, like, sneaking away to get in a run, I felt so much gratitude. It was such a gift. And I think having running in my life in that way, I think, just made it so special that I don't know, when you're doing something that's a lot of fun, you wanna do more of it. And the
Yeah.
more you do of running, the faster you get, and then it was even more fun. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a long, complicated answer, but a lot
Yeah.
changed.
Well, and there's many layers to it too, right? So when you were, round 1 runner, right? So you ran in college, you did well, you turned pro, and you did some travel in Europe. I mean, and injury was really the challenge for you. But what was that version of you being a pro runner the first time around when you were healthy? I mean, were you enjoying yourself with the travel and some of those things?
Yeah, I was having the time of my life. But I also think it brought on a lot of anxiety.
Mm.
I felt a lot of pressure. I wanted everything now. I was chasing outcomes and not, like, just, like, specializing in, like, the process and the grind and the journey. And I think that created a lot of even just self pressure that was really hard for me. So I was having the time of my life and I loved it. And I loved the experience. I loved racing, but I felt a lot of pressure. I also I don't think I had the confidence in myself to do it my way, so I felt like I was trying to fit into this other box and kind of rein in my shine and my silliness and, like, everything that I think has really made me stand out in round 2. Like, I felt like I in round one, I thought hard work is hard. So I have to be serious and I have to like
Mhm.
look at everyone around me. They're all serious. Like if I want to be as fast as them, like I need to like buckle down. And so I felt like kind of like a walking satire of myself almost that,
Mhm.
I'd walk in like telling jokes, like laughing and like it just, and then I had to like rein it in, like, okay, I'm here to work hard. So I was kind of like, I enjoyed it, but it was a weird time. And I kind of see now why I didn't find that great success in round one. Because round two, I showed up as like authentically Kira, like
Yeah.
telling the jokes, making people laugh, rooting for other people. And I think that version of myself is like just the best version of myself. And it's allowed me, I don't know, to hit heights that I could have never even dreamed of in round one.
So getting rid of that pressure by leaving running, right? You gave up running. Um, and it sounds like you just moved on. Was there any kind of identity issues that you had because you were known as a runner in high school and college and then as a pro in mid-20s, you're moving on. So did you have to wrestle with that or were you able to kind of just move on?
I definitely wrestled with that.
Mm.
I mean, my whole life I was Kira the runner. People
Mhm.
would introduce me, this is Kira the runner. And now I was Kira the runner who didn't run. So I set out on a journey to find out who else Keira was. And it was such like a powerful journey for me because I found out, well, I'm a lot of things. Like I originally got into development and I became a really good developer and I really enjoyed like a 9 to 5 corporate job. And I started doing CrossFit or doing cycling or going out with friends. Like I went out to bars, which I never did before. And that was fun. So I
Mhm.
found all these different sides of me and eventually, got married and became a mother. And becoming a mother too, I feel like unlocked so much because that instantly became the most important thing in the world to me. So running just wasn't even my number one focus, I think, which also yeah, helped a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely had an identity crisis. And yeah, I went out searching. And I think that was a really healthy thing for me to do because I became like a really well-rounded, full person, which I think was really healthy on building back in round two.
Yeah, and that I think that's what the part about the book that as a parent, as a hobby runner, that resonate with me. And I think, men and women, I think moms probably in particular, because you do such a great job at talking about parenthood. You talk about you're in the bathroom and the fingers are under the door and you're hearing 57 ways of mom, calling mom on the other side. You know what I mean? And it's so applicable to people. I think what's the reaction you've received from, I guess, women in particular and moms that have been inspired by your story?
This actually is, I think, the greatest gift I've ever received from running is connecting with other mothers in this way. Like, I mean, even this past weekend, I was out somewhere and someone recognized me and she came up to me in tears saying that she had read my book. She's also a mother. And I instantly knew what parts of the book she had connected with. And it made me feel like one, seen, like two, not alone, like three, like really thankful that I've been able to help like her find her footing being a mother and trying to do something for herself. So it's been really, really, really special to connect with specifically mothers in this kind of way because it is. I mean, becoming a mother is like, I mean, the greatest gift of all,
Mhm.
but also it's really hard
Yeah.
too, and I think, like, both can be true at the same time. So and I think people talking about it and me sharing how I've structured being a mother and trying to train for a marathon, I think people just seeing that path almost gives them permission to find their own path too, which I'm really proud to be part of that also.
Well, and you talk about the struggle of getting back into running. Like when you got back, I mean, walk us through that because it wasn't like you just picked up where you left off, right? I mean, that's the everyday runner that you described getting back into it.
Yeah, I mean, I took close to a decade off. So
Yeah.
I was nowhere close to the Kira that knew running when I came back into it. But I was probably like 6 to 8 weeks postpartum with my second child. And I was overweight in a new town where I hadn't really built my community yet. And my husband at the time was about to leave for deployment. So I was going to be at home with a 0 and a 1 year old. And I wanted to do something for myself. And I felt like my life it was overwhelming and
Mm.
really hard for me, and I wanted to put something in my life that I could control, and I thought, "Well, I ran before, maybe I can run again." And so to get myself out the door actually was really tough for that first run. But I knew, like, even though did not resemble that runner, Keira, in her, teens and early 20s, I had had that experience. So I knew starting running is hard. So I decided I was going to set a really low bar to get myself out the door. And so I said, like, okay, what feels achievable but not overwhelming? And I decided that would be 3 minutes. So I was like, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to run for 3 whole minutes. And in my head, like, I also had a little cockiness because running was always my thing. So I was like, well, 3 minutes will surely turn into at least five, maybe 10. I'll probably go for at least a 20-minute run, but I'm like, just say three and get to three and just then you keep going. So I went outside and I ran as long and as hard and as far. And and then I like hit a wall, like I couldn't breathe anymore. My legs were like pile drivers. It was miserable. And I stopped, like I was out of breath. I went as far as I could. And I looked down and it had been 90 seconds. And I was like, so I stopped and I cried and I walked home and I was like, how am I so far from that runner, Kira, but
Yeah.
also because I was so far, it was so freeing that I just decided, okay, well, this is where I am today. I'm now a 90-second runner, but I don't always have to be. Maybe I can build up and get to that 3 minutes. So I like took a day off and recovered because that took a lot out of me. And
Mhm.
then 2 days after that, I tried to go for 3 minutes and I started a little slower. I ran on a place that was a little flatter. I made it 3 whole minutes and I celebrated like I won the Olympics. Like I was so pumped. And it was like just over 5 years after that 3 minute run that I broke the American record in the marathon.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah,
yeah, so it was a humbling start for
that's
sure.
amazing. I mean, that's an amazing time frame. That I mean, that's what's crazy. But you were able to build it back. It feels like running too, as you were building it back, was because your two kids were so small and your life was busy, and it was a release for you. It feels like, as it is for many of us.
Yeah, I did not care about how fast I was at all. Like that, like I learned running is so much more than how fast. So I was putting it into my life for all the other reasons why we all run, for mental health, for physical health.
Right.
I eventually was running to find community. I was running for a little bit of space. I was running to feel good about myself. I was running because it was hard and it was like kind of chosen pain, which felt good. There was so many reasons why I was running, which made it really, really powerful for me.
Yeah, and I think it made you a better person, a better mom. I mean, I think it's a superpower. I like to tell people that. I mean, it probably gave you energy for the rest of your day and the other areas of your life.
Spot on, spot on. I feel like doing a little something for myself allowed me to be really present
Mhm.
with my kids because I felt like I had done something for myself so I could just relax. But I think, yeah, running made me a better mother. And I think being a mother made me a better runner.
So there's an 8 to 10-year gap roughly, and then the kind of that 5-year window where you really start picking it up. What part in those 5 years were you running and you started to the thoughts started to creep back in your mind like, I can do this. Like, I can do this at a high level.
Yeah, I don't think I had the confidence to dream past like my next race.
Mm,
So I would be like, well, maybe this weekend I can run a whole 5K without walking. And I, had 2 kids at home. So one I like aligned with nap time. The other one I brought down on a bouncer and I had a
mm,
treadmill luckily in my house. And I was like, I'm going to try to run a whole 5K. And I remember running like 31 minutes or 32 minutes. And I was so pumped that I'd made that. And then I was like, well, if I can do a 5K on my treadmill, maybe I could do it out on the roads. So it was just like one little goal after another. And eventually, like, I know I'm going to make this sound like I snapped my fingers and all this happened overnight, but eventually I ran a whole marathon without walking.
mhm.
And then eventually I broke three in the marathon and I came really close to the OTQ. And I think being 2 minutes away from the Olympic trials qualifying time, that's when I thought, oh man, maybe there's something here. Like maybe I should get intentional and maybe I should like buckle down and like shoot for a bigger goal rather than just whatever I feel like doing next. So
The other part of your story that I don't wanna gloss over is you were working, full time as in real estate, right, as a
Mhm.
residential real estate agent. You've
Yep.
got 2 kids, you've got a busy life, and I don't it was quite a while before you maybe even had a formal coach. I mean, you were doing a lot of this on your own, right? And that's the other part that it's easy to kinda skip over that, but it's talent and it's time and it's putting all those things together.
Yeah, and I was alone, but also, like, I joined Strava, so
Mhm,
that immediately gave me a community, which, like, really buoyed me, because, yeah, I was at home alone with both kids. I felt, like, very isolated, and that was really hard, so just having even a virtual community that, like, my mom would give me, like, a kudo on my run, like, that, like, really, really helped me not feel alone. So I was, like, out there doing it by myself, but I didn't feel alone with the running community, and then showing up to races and then cooling down with random people and making them become my new running friend. I started, gathering these, like, people that I would run with on a regular basis, which also made it even more fun too. But yeah, I would really get up and just run whatever I wanted to run that day. I would, like, look for, like, a Strava crown, and that would be my workout, was just trying
mhm.
to take all of their Strava crowns in Midlothian and Richmond, Virginia. And, yeah, and I just was having the time of my life. Yeah, I did the root beer float training plan for a little bit, and that, like, really fueled me for a summer.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was just had fun.
You do talk about in your book though, some of the mom guilt, and I will say it happens for dads too, but I would like you to talk about that because I think that's another thing that probably a lot of women resonate with in there, even though it's completely justifiable to go take care of yourself and run, you would still have guilt sometimes and have to process that.
Yeah, I had a lot of guilt. I felt like at first, like, what kind of mother would leave her kids to go do something selfish? Like, to me, running felt selfish when I was getting back into it. Like, are my kids gonna be okay? Am I in like, you just, like, kinda spiral out when you
Mm,
think you're doing something for yourself and not for the good of the family. So that was something that I really it took months and months of working on that, and luckily, I was surrounded like, my mother-in-law in particular, like, she really gave me a lot of confidence, and she never made me feel guilty for wanting to do something for myself. In fact, she supported me, like, she would just say, "Hey, when are you gonna run tomorrow? I'll come over and watch the kids." So
mhm.
she really, like, enabled me to she gave me strength, so she helped that inner voice. So I think if anyone is dealing with that, if there's someone else that can be your inner voice when you're feeling a little guilty, I think that that helps. But then, like, I think the biggest tool that I did is, like, I call it, like, my dipstick, and I know that's, like it's a really weird way to say it, but I, like, ask myself, like, what do I value most in my kids? Or what do I hope I teach my kids the most? Or what are my hopes for my kids? And I hope
Mhm,
that they're happy, healthy, kind, and loved. And so I would go on so I'd leave them knowing I had just given them all that, and I'd leave for a run, and I'd come back, and I'd immediately check, like, my surroundings and be like, "Are my kids happy, healthy, kind, and loved?" And they were.
yeah,
Like, I learned, like, run by run, bit by bit, that their world could go on without me. And I had to plan, I had to ask for a lot of help, which is hard, I think, because I wanted to do it all. I had to get creative with when I would go, I had to be really flexible. But, yeah, and I started, in my head, just instead of if I find the time to run tomorrow, I switched it to when am I gonna find the time? So I made that time for myself non-negotiable, but I was really flexible about where. So that made me feel better too, that, like, if there was a sick kid or naps in a line, it didn't have to be right then. I would have to find a time later. But I think asking for help and then finding those little measurements that you can just, like, tangibly see, like, my kids are okay. Like, and my kids can go on without me, um, which hard, yeah, and it took months, and I still like, I'm not perfect at it, I still
yeah,
feel a lot of guilt, like, going away to races, like, it's hard to leave my kids, especially when I miss, like, a sporting event or something at school, like, I miss some of that stuff, and I have to constantly, like, go through these motions of trying to not feel guilty about it, but I also, like I care a lot, and
yeah.
I wanna be a really great mom, and I love my kids, so I also try not to be too hard on myself for feeling that either way.
Yeah. I think that's just part of parenting too, whether I mean, it's your profession is running, but if your profession's real estate or marketing or whatever it might be, you're getting pulled in different directions, right? So
Absolutely.
I think people resonate with that whether they're runners or not. And at the end of the day, it's about the intentionality. That I think the time you're spending with your kids, if you're making the most of it and you're being intentional with it, um, I think the dipstick analogy is a good one for sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, Let me ask you about as you started ramping up towards Houston. So Houston is where you break the American record in the marathon. Um, you talk about what if, asking the what if question, right? And first of all, could you describe what that whole theory means with what if, and did that apply to that, that particular race in Houston?
Yeah, 100%. And this was really interesting to me because I had always looked at what if as a positive. So I would finish a race and then I would think, what if I can run faster? Or what if I can go further? Or what if I can add in this workout and then do this? So I used it as a very hopeful tool. And especially going into Houston, like there are these like stepping stones leading into it where I I ran a marathon in 2:22, and that put me in the top 10 list of all time.
Mhm.
And I think I was, I don't know, maybe 6th or 7th, 6, 7. I can make you do that. But then I thought, like, what if I can move up that list? So I used it as a really hopeful tool, and I didn't realize how tricky that word is until right after I broke the American record. I went on the Michael Gervais Finding Mastery
Mhm.
podcast. And I told him, he asked me if I had a good imagination. And I said, no, like I do something and then I think, what if I can do better? And then he was the one that pointed out that that is actually a really tricky word because on the flip side of the positive what if is a negative what if.
Mhm.
What if the weather's bad? What if I get sick? What if it goes out too fast? What if I'm in over my head? There's all these negative emotions. And so I think in life, kind of acknowledging that there's two sides to the coin and it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to feel over your head. It's okay that it feels hard. It's okay to feel like an imposter and not feel super confident. But looking on the other side of that coin too, there is, yeah, I feel a little bit like an imposter, but I'm going to do it anyways. And this also excites me. So I think that I naturally tended to lean on the positive side of that what if coin. But but I think it's okay to have both sides of that and then choose to lean into the one that like makes you happier and encourages you and makes you feel better about it. But that was an interesting because then I would do a workout and be like, whoa, what if I can do this?
Uh-huh.
And what if? And I took that what if all the way to breaking the American record. Boom shakalaka.
That is so good because the what if that you're describing on the negative side to me is the fear of failure that we have, right? We don't There's so many things we don't do or don't attempt
Mhm.
because we're afraid of failure in our own minds, in the eyes of others, right? And you spin that and you spin it so the what if is a positive. And so were you asking you're that I mean, when you went into the Houston race, and for those that don't follow it, 2022, Dina Castor had held the American record for 16 years. Dina's been on the podcast. She's awesome. And you went into that race and you broke her record, set the American record, really put your name on the map at that point. Were you saying, what if I can hold this pace? What if I can break this record today? I mean, was that your thinking going into it?
Yeah, I went in very intentionally trying to break that record, but I didn't have the confidence. It was tricky for me because I thought I could run the time and all my workouts showed I was comfortable running under 5:20 pace. I could really relax running 5:18s per mile. But the thought of being the American record holder in the marathon, I could not wrap my head around.
Mhm.
That was like never in a million trillion years did I ever think that could be me. And so I had to really separate the time and what the time meant. So that day I lined up trying to break the time with it was 2/1936, I think, or yeah,
Yeah, some, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
2/1936. And so I went in knowing I could do that, but I totally separated about what that time meant. So when I crossed the line and I had broken that time, I was thrilled that I hit my goal. I also, the first thing I said was, I'm never running again. Like, I am done that. Yeah, I am done. And then my agent's like, yeah, just celebrate. I was like, no, like, listen to me right now. I'm
Yeah.
in sound mind. Like, never let me sign up for another race again. But I think then when those merged again, that was actually really confusing for me. Like realizing that running that time meant that it was really hard to merge them back together because I think I did such a great job compartmentalizing each side of it.
And you said Dina called you shortly after that, is that right?
Yeah, I was waiting for the press conference and my agent, Ray Flynn, who's also her agent,
Mm,
just comes over and said, "Hey, there's someone on the phone that wants to talk to you." And I pick it up and it was Dina. And she's Dina is one of the most incredible people in the world. If you
mhm,
haven't read her book, Let Your Mind Run, like,
yeah,
it is a must read 100%.
I agree.
She was so excited for me. She said she woke up and saw the news and she couldn't be happier. And she was so happy that it was me and she was rooting for me. And it was just the kindest, most thoughtful phone call.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know what to expect. And like my record was broken and I felt very similar to Dina. Like it wasn't for me holding it as it was like going after it. And I think like when it was broken by Emily Sisson, like I just felt so much pride that someone had figured it out too and had hit their goal and trained really hard. So I understood the other side of that, but it was a really, yeah, Dina's incredible.
Yeah. And what a I mean, so that moment you break it, by the way, on YouTube, I saw the video of you finish. I thought this was great. You cross the finish line, right? And they're filming you, and you put your hands on your knees, and it's like 5 seconds after you finish, and your kids run up to you, but they stop because they see you, they see you trying to hold yourself together. You look up and you see them and you put your arms out and you hug that. Like as a mom, you're dead, but you've got enough energy to hug them for a brief moment and then you sit down, and it's just like such a I don't know, just such a parent kid moment that they were there with you and you were able to give them that little hug. I thought it was great.
Oh, man, you're gonna make me cry. That, like, was one of the most special moments, and I think also, like, my son, he had a sign that said, "You're number 1 in my heart,"
Yeah.
and I lost it because,
Yeah.
like, he didn't care if I ran whatever I ran. He
Yeah.
was just there because he loved me, and I think, oh my gosh, that just, like, seeing that sign afterwards just, like, broke me, but also I needed to sit down. I was exhausted. I
Yeah.
was really
Yeah.
I was really, really tired.
Well, what a culmination of you think about the 5 years prior to that, you were running a marathon hoping just to not, beat 4 hours and then not have to
Yeah.
walk, and then 5 years later, you're breaking the American record. So, at that point, you how does your life change at that point as a runner, as a known name at that point?
Yeah, again, like, I feel like everything and nothing changed. Like, I went home from that race, got right back into mom mode. We all got COVID right afterwards, so we were all, like, stuck and sick in the house, so I just went right back to Keira the mom, and so that part stayed exactly the same.
Mhm.
But I think what changed was, like, races now were reaching out and wanting me to come run. People were connecting with me. People were recognizing me when I'd go out for a run or go to another race, like, um, that was really special to, like, have people, like, hear about my story and then find some inspiration for their own within that story. So that part, I think, really changed, and that was just such a gift that I was not expecting from this whole journey.
Mhm. And at that point, you said you had an agent and you had, I think, a team, and at one you were sponsored by Nike, and you held out for a while for a shoe sponsor, right? And I've thought that part was interesting. Why did you wait? Why did you wait for Nike in particular?
Well, one, like, I always have run in Nike shoes, and they are the best to me. Like, I know
Mhm.
shoes are a very personal
Yeah.
thing, but I love Nike shoes. I love how innovative Nike is. I love that they're always pushing the limit and trying to be better and to do better. So I found like a lot of success with Nikes. And then I also like I wasn't on this journey for that at first. Like, I think first coming back into it, I really craved that validation. But then I realized, like, I'm kicking butt in real estate right now. So
Hmm.
I can buy whatever shoes I want. I can do whatever. Like, I don't answer to anyone. And that felt really, really powerful. And then, especially when I started breaking some records and everything, um, people I think were like, yeah, get this woman a contract. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I'm doing good. I picked the shoes I want to do. I'm not answering. So it was when Nike called and they're like, "We don't want to change anything about you. Like, we love that you're a mom. We love that you do real estate. We love how you structured your life. We just want to support you doing it the Keira way." Then I was like, "Okay, yeah, I can get on board with this." But I think also at that time, I I have like a wear size foot. So I was testing out some of the shoes that were like 2, 3 years down. So I was
Mm.
like a wear tester just for Nike. And which I loved because then I was getting all these free shoes and I was experimenting with new things down the line. But I'm here seeing what's in the pipeline for Nike, and there was nothing else like it on the market. So I just knew like my goal coming back at that point then became like, how fast can I run? And I knew I could run the fastest in Nike shoes. And there was no doubt in my mind that that would help me, like, continue to chase those times.
So you have a Nike contract, you're getting invited into, you're getting invited to races rather than knocking on the door, right? You're
Yeah.
you're you're in the New York Times and these articles about you. Was it hard to not let that pressure creep back in, like the pressure you felt in round 1? Did
Mhm.
you start feeling that again, or were you, like, playing with house money at this point, right? Did you have that
I,
attitude?
I was playing with house money. Like, I never thought I'd have this beautiful second round of running. I never thought I'd hit any of those goals, and no one around me except for me and my coach thought that I could hit those goals. So, once people started afterwards, like, following my story and, wondering what else I could do, like, I don't know, I became really good at disassociating that because, like, no one even thought I was gonna get this far. So, I was kinda like, "Let's see how far this this road will take me." So, I don't know, I never like, and I do like, I feel internal pressure wanting to hit the goals that I pick for myself. And like, I think that's a healthy amount of pressure. Like, I'm very fueled and very determined, and I feel very passionate about it. So I do feel pressure. I get nervous before races. Um, but I didn't feel external pressure of wanting to do it other people's way, doing races just because I thought I should. I was still picking races that like authentically seemed fun to me and that I thought I would have a chance to really compete or yeah, try to go for a good time. So yeah, I somehow was able to balance that. And maybe it was just age too, that I now in my late 30s and a mom. So I think I don't know, no matter if I hit my goal or not, I came right back home to being a mom. So I think that that really grounded me in a way that I never had before.
So has your training changed at all, even in, like, let's say, the last 3 years, in terms of, like, recovery or things like that? Or do you feel like you're, you know, still on the rise and you don't nothing really changes, or you can continue to get even harder training, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, a lot has changed. My body is changing. I'm getting older every year. Like every year I have a birthday,
Like
so
all of
every year
us,
I'm
yeah.
getting yes. So I haven't figured that one out, but yeah, it's changed, it's evolved, and it feels almost exciting. It's a new challenge. Sometimes it's frustrating challenges. Like I'll show up at a workout and be so sore from the lift 2 days ago and have no idea why and start a workout and be like, well, this is not in the cards for me
Mhm.
today. I need to pull the plug. I'm going to go for a recovery run. We can try again tomorrow. So I just having the maturity to be able to step away from it like that. But yeah, as I've aged, I need a lot more recovery. I need a lot more sleep. I need a lot more like nutrition, like especially protein is something that I realize I have to work really hard at getting enough now, which I mean, 10 years ago, I could just I don't know, I didn't focus on that as much.
Mhm.
So I have to be really intentional about fueling in a really the right way. Um, So yeah, I've noticed a lot of changes, but also like the fire is still there, the passion's still there, and like I'm excited by races and these challenges. So it's yeah, it's changed for sure, but it also is, I don't know, this is just the walk of running that I'm in right now.
Yeah. What about the mental toughness that comes with running over time? Because clearly you've locked into, you know, people call it the pain cave, call it what you want, right? But you get for those that run, you get to that point in the race where, yeah, I think you say you start negotiating with yourself, right? So how do you manage, for the hobby runners out there, how do you manage that point? Because you know it's coming, and how do you prepare yourself mentally to navigate that part of the race?
That's a really good question because I feel like the work mentally is done before race day. And so whenever I line up for a workout or a long run and I figure out the intention for that, I let that and like uncomfortableness and intensity and the pain cave come and I practice working through it. So by the time like race day comes, like in that build, I've done, dozens of workouts
Mhm,
and lots of long runs. And I've practiced what am I going to do when everything starts to hurt? And because I think if you expect yourself on race day to be able to figure out, you're doing a disservice. So in every build, it's a little different. Like sometimes I hear a song at the beginning of a build that for whatever reason cues me to figure out how to work through that toughness. And I use that as a little trigger. Like for a while when Hamilton just came out, it was like, I'm not throwing away my shot.
mhm,
So I'd get to that point in the workout and say, I'm not throwing away my shot, like keep going. Leading into the Houston Marathon, I had this is where the magic happens. Like when everything hurts and I want to stop and I start negotiating, this is where the magic happens. Like
mhm,
learning how to work through this and this workout that means nothing. There's no, no one's tracking this. It doesn't matter. But if I can work through it today, I'll be more equipped to work through it. So I take workouts like pretty seriously with that. And I really give myself an opportunity to practice like, what do I do when it sucks? So yeah, so I think like in a build, like allowing yourself to get there sometimes in workouts and and even races leading up to your goal race, you get there in that race and figure out what am I going to do from here? What am I going to say to myself? How am I going to work through that? So, but I think it takes a lot of practice and I think it's like and it's like I've practiced it a lot and I still have to practice it a lot. So I don't think it ever gets any easier. I think we all go through pretty similar struggles with that. But yeah, that's sorry,
yeah.
I rambled on for a while with that.
No,
But
no, that
that's
makes sense, and you talked about you went into Houston knowing you had hit times, right? So it sounds like that work, you still had to perform it, but you had the resume from your workouts, it sounds like, going into it, and reminding ourselves of that is pretty important.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
I draw a lot of confidence from my workouts. And then like I think also on race week 2, we want it so bad that we want to do more. And I think allowing yourself to relax and just trust that everything you need is already inside you.
yeah.
And that is so much easier said than done on race week. But I think when you can trust that you've done what you needed to do and you have the ability to work through whatever you're going to work through, I think that confidence race week is really huge.
So how did the pro running world accept you? Because you kinda came on hot. Maybe they knew you, maybe the public, didn't until you splashed onto the scene, but, was it elbows or was it kind of a welcoming thing from other female professional runners?
I was so welcomed.
Huh.
And this was really strange for me because when I competed in the early 2000s, it felt like not a very welcoming place. Like I don't like I think it was a little more competitive. It felt like cutthroat in a negative way.
Mhm,
But coming back now and in the last 10 years, I feel like women have learned how to be like ferocious competitors out there on the race course and then genuinely supportive, kind, happy people. And that was so refreshing. And, like, I really leaned on, like, one of the first pro runners that really, like, extended an olive branch to me was Molly Seidel.
Mm,
And she invited me to a race, and I was cooling down. I was like, "I can't believe," like, she had just qualified for she ran her first marathon, qualified for her first Olympic team, and she invited me to this race. And on the cool down, I just asked her, like, "Hey, Molly, like, why'd you invite me?" And she just said, "'Cause you're a badass." And I was like, "I know, but I'm just like this mom from, like, Richmond that likes to run." And she's like, "You're a badass. I've seen your workouts and, like, you're crushing it. So you deserve to be here." And I was like, "I know. I just feel like an imposter." And she's like, "Everyone feels like an imposter." And I'm like, "Well, you don't." And she's like, "I feel like an imposter."
mhm,
And that just changed the way I looked at everything. I'm like, here, this woman who's won high school nationals and college nationals and made an Olympic team in the marathon feels like an imposter. I was like, okay, so this is normal. Like, she just made me feel so normal and accepted. And that conversation just fueled me. I am so appreciative for people like Molly, that are just really, really incredible, incredible, kind people.
and I wanna ask you about the Olympic qualifier, which would have been what, for 2024, right? So you that was a big deal to you. You didn't hit it that day, and there's a lot to be learned from, right, from when we don't hit it, and I wanna ask you about what did you take from that day, and what did it feel like, you know, not hitting your goal in that particular case?
Yeah, that was probably the toughest, loss of my life. That was really hard.
Mhm,
But I think, like, the first thing I learned is acceptance that, like, this is my journey. Like, this is where I am right now. And then, like, I had to let it, like, settle a little bit before I started analyzing. But, I think that I was probably in the fittest marathon shape I had ever been. Like, I really, like, an American record shape, but I
mhm,
wasn't ready for the race that day.
mm,
So I hadn't trained in hot and humid. I think that the plan that we had, my coach, like, thought of, I hadn't been racing that way, so I wasn't used to doing what he just wanted me to take it out and blast everyone and just run away with it,
mhm.
and that wasn't typically that's a little tough. It's a hard way to run a marathon sometimes, especially when it's hot and humid. So I think I would have prepared for that race better. Um, and yeah, so that was a lesson learned, but also, like, I being disappointed, having I ended up so that race I dropped out probably around mile 20. I
Mhm,
was seeing stars. I couldn't lift my legs. Like, I would think I was on the brink of a heat stroke, but then also I think there was something going on, in my legs.
mhm,
That a weakness that needed to be adjusted. But when I went to the tent and collected my stuff, I think, like, maybe 3 or 4 different moms that had just run that day came up to me and said, like, "Keira, I just wanna say thank you. Like, because of learning about your story, you gave me permission to dream, and I made it here." And that to me, like, helped me just zoom out and be like, "Look at you go." Like,
mhm,
8 years ago, I couldn't even imagine running a whole marathon. And now, like, I'm disappointed that I didn't make an Olympic team, which, like, felt almost I mean, it felt like a gift, like,
mhm,
and I trained my butt off, like, and I have no like, other than preparing for the heat, I have no regrets with going all in, and I think that was also, like, a really big thing that I walked away with was, like, I went all in, I cared so much, I've never wanted anything else badly, and my heart is broken, and I would do it again.
mhm.
And I think that that was a really powerful thing to be like, "Yep, it didn't turn out the way that I wanted, but, like, let's find another one to go all in like that because that was an experience."
Yeah. I'm glad you shared that, because I think it's important to reflect on those moments too, because life is hills and valleys, right? And it's not a zero sum game. It doesn't always work out, but then you can come back from that, right? And learn from that. And that's what you're doing now. And I want to talk about what you're doing now because you've got this window of time, right? Where you've established yourself, you've burst onto the scene, you've been there for a little while now, but you've got this window of time to really, you know, play this out. And
Mhm.
so what are you doing? Did you move to Utah? Do I have that right? And you're training with the team there to find out what the ceiling is, I guess is how you'd say it.
Yep. I moved to Park City, Utah. I train under Coach Ed Eyestone in his he has a pro team, the Eyestone Elite team here with Connor Mance and Clayton Young and
Mm,
just some incredible, incredible athletes. And this has been so incredible to like be around like-minded people, to show like to learn a new perspective, to test my bodies in different ways. I have appreciated like this so much and just having that support system. Like I think I was kind of doing it kind of piecemeal. Like I had a lot of help and a lot of support in Richmond, but I think being part of a team that like Nike, it's Park City and Provo is a Nike hub too. So there's just a lot of Nike support here also. It's just been incredible and just so beautiful to watch these other runners going for it earlier in their careers than me, and I feel, like, so special to have a front row seat to, like, cheer on and encourage and run with and see all these, like, up and coming runners too, and I shouldn't call them up and coming, they're already here, but it's, maybe just younger runners at,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
earlier in their career, yeah.
And the thing is, you did so much of this early on at sea level, right? Richmond is
Mhm.
like sea level. Now you're running at altitude, and so it's all those things. Like it's like why not see what you can do with all the tools, right? And that certainly has to be part of it. Have you noted what is the difference running at altitude frequently compared to the training you were doing before?
Yeah, it takes a lot out of you, and I think longer runs are harder, longer tempos are harder. Shorter stuff, you don't feel it as much, but your pace is definitely affected. But it is I mean, I really think it's actually pretty similar to training through heat and humidity. I think like I was working through a different kind of hard, but it's I mean, you're restricted. Your oxygen there's not as much oxygen, you're not breathing as much and taking as much in, so um, but it's been, yeah, a unique thing. Like, I think I was so curious on what it would be like and how my body would respond and what would that look like. And it really is incredible because you spend a lot of time up at a higher elevation and you go down to sea level and you just feel like there's like you take such a deep breath and your cardiovascularly feels so strong. So yeah, it's been a really cool thing to learn and to test and just to yeah, see what it's all about.
Yeah. So, what would you say to folks that they're not pro runners, right? They're not pro athletes, but they're chasing a goal and maybe something that they gave up on. Matt Fitzgerald writes about this in Chasing Mastery, his book, a little bit about we there's still so many things we can accomplish, and certainly you're a great example of that. And I guess what would you say to folks that maybe gave up on a goal, whatever that is, that, they're thinking about, it's rolling around in the back of their head still.
I would be rooting for them. Like, coming back into running actually, this like, real quick, when I broke the American record later that day, when I had a moment to myself, I just lost it. I cried so hard. And the thing that I was most proud of wasn't breaking the American record or making national teams or, I don't know, winning a national title or getting sponsored, but, like, none of those were what I was so proud of. It was that I started the journey. I was so
Mm,
proud that at first, like, 90-second run that I found the courage to do that because it changed my life, like, in so many ways, and I think when you can pick a big goal and go after it in a really authentic way and go all in, it is life changing. Whether you hit it or not is almost irrelevant
mhm.
because it is just incredible to test yourself and just the confidence and the things you find out about yourself and how strong you really are along the way is just like incredible. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna say go for it. And what's the worst that can happen? You don't hit it,
right.
and then you'll be exactly where you are right now, which is pretty cool too. So that's
Yes.
fine. Yeah, you can handle that.
So what, obviously Boston's big for you this year, and then do you have an eye towards, LA Olympics in '28 and trying to make that happen?
Yeah, everything I'm doing now is geared towards LA 2028. So I requalified for the Olympic trials and my marathon in December. So I
Mhm.
have a spot on that starting line. So everything I'm doing is pretty intentional building up to put myself in the best position. Yeah, in 2028.
So will that qualifier be at like early in 2028? Is that when they do that? Is it,
Yeah,
like
I think
January,
they announced
February?
it would be March, I think, of 2028. And that's really cool because you're trying to qualify for like home soil Olympics. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
And I
Oh, yeah.
know, like, every year that goes by, my chances are probably less, but I also like, I have a chance. And
Yeah.
so why would I not go all in and see like where that chance leads me?
Yeah. You gotta go for it. And then do you know where the qualifier will be for that? Like, what city? Do they know yet?
They haven't announced yet. I think they've narrowed it down to 2 and they're trying to decide between the 2, but, yeah, I don't yeah, they haven't announced where yet.
Got it. Okay. So your career with running, I mean, what your relationship with running is interesting because you've known it as, a professional runner, as a hobby runner. You've known it as an escape and a release as a parent. Which one of those do you think has been the most important for you? Which relationship with running has been the most important?
Um, 100% what it does for me mentally. Like, I think the way it helps me cope with life, I think the release, I think it like to me, if I could never compete again, I would be devastated. But if I could never run again, that would be just so hard. Just because, like, going out and doing something on a daily basis that feels hard and working through it and finishing a run and being thrilled it's done, like, that little act right there is just, like, my favorite thing in the world outside of my kids, like, outside of
Yeah, of
but so,
course.
yeah, so I think, like, the part of running I love the most is the daily act of going out for a run and what it does for you physically and mentally.
Yeah. Um, you said, I think it was your quote, or you quoted someone else in your book. You say, doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. I love
Mhm,
that. That has so much meaning. And I think it's about that fear of failure that we were talking about. I think doubt is equally as uh, restricting, isn't it?
I think it's actually more restricting because if you doubt it and you don't go for it, you will never hit it, right? So there is a 0% chance if you doubt and you don't go for it that you will fail. But you could go for it and you might fail or you might not. So it's like, so doubt is even more destructive than going for it and falling short of your goal. So, yeah, I remember it was actually my father-in-law who said that. We were at the James River High School track and he came out to time me and he just so supportive and so encouraging. And we were kind of walking off and I was like, "Thanks for being here." That was really and he just said that powerhouse of a quote and it just hit me so deep that I was like, "Yeah, like, why would I not go for this? Like, who knows if I hit it, but I might as well try and just see what happens." But, yeah, that was it. And he, like, isn't like a chatty Cathy kind of person, so, like, when he says some of those things that are just, like, grand slams of just pieces of advice, it was really, really awesome.
Yeah. Well, I want to encourage people to read your book and to follow you. I think, what's the best way to follow you? I know Instagram, you're pretty active on that, and we'll put it in the show notes. But what's the best way for people to find you?
Yeah, definitely Instagram, and I try to be really engaging and answer, so if people have questions or wanna follow up, yeah, find me on Instagram at Keera D'Amato. I also on Strava, and I
Yes.
post a lame joke of the day, so if you like lame jokes, you should probably follow me there. If you don't, then do not follow me. You would hate my page, you would not get past it, there's a lot of really lame jokes. But yeah, I'm, also very active on Strava, so Instagram or Strava, um, and
That's the humor side of it, which is great. It keeps it light. And then the book again. I did want to ask you about this because the title is so interesting because you say don't call it a comeback. That's the first thing I think probably media people want to do. Like what a comeback, but you say don't call it a comeback, and I don't want to pass without having you explain the meaning of that to everyone.
Yeah, I think a comeback implies one, that I had some idea of where I was going when I started this journey and I didn't, or two, that I returned to the same person that I once was. And that is so far from the truth. So for me, this isn't a comeback story. It's a story about a girl who finds through running how to work through life and how to grow and how to evolve and how to become a better version of myself. And yeah, so to me, it's not a comeback story. I think, yeah, like I say, maybe it's a dark horse. There, yeah, I
Yeah.
came out of the blue a little bit. I surprised some people with just the scenic route that I took, but it definitely, yeah, it's not a comeback story.
Yeah. Well, it's a great story. And, I think if you think about like what would have happened in your life had you not gone back into running, I think with your attitude, your life would have been great still, because you're a parent and you just excel at whatever you're doing. But because you went into running, I think you've had a huge impact on people that again, it's like, the everyman runner, every woman runner, your story resonates. And I think we're all better because of it. So thanks for getting those shoes back on and getting on the road.
Thank you for saying that. Almost made me cry. That was very thoughtful the way you said that. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm not saying this just to say this, but this was one of the most fun conversations. I really, really enjoyed chatting with you today. So thank you so much
Thank you.
for having me
We'll
on.
be following you in Boston. I'll be out in Boston, so I'll be much further behind you at the
Okay.
starting gate. But
If
everyone can
you get
follow
the
you and
chance
root for you there.
get the chance to outkick me, go for it. I won't hold it against you, right? But I will
I'll
try to
be.
hold you off.
That'll be
Okay.
my what if question. All right. All the best.